What happens when two innocent kids are stopped by police officers for no reason, but justice comes swiftly? Meet Jason and Reuben, two brothers walking through their peaceful suburban neighborhood on a quiet afternoon. Jason, the older of the two, always looks out for his younger brother, Reuben, who's full of curiosity and energy. Their father, Marcus Carter, is a respected senator known for fighting for justice and equality. But to Jason and Reuben, he's simply the protector they can always count on. Today, their routine walk will take an unexpected turn, leading to a powerful moment where a father's protection and justice will make all the difference. It was a peaceful afternoon as Jason and Reuben walked hand in hand down Maple Street, making their way to Grandma's house, something they did often. The sun was warm, and the neighborhood was quiet, with only the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze. Jason, at 11, felt a sense of responsibility for his younger brother, Reuben, who was just 7 but already brimming with curiosity about the world around him. As they neared the park, they saw 2 white police officers standing beside a car, their eyes scanning the area. Jason didn't think much of it at first. After all, it was a common sight, officers often stopping by to check the area. But as they got closer, something felt off. The officer's eyes shifted toward them, lingering in a way that made Jason uneasy. Their gaze wasn't just a passing glance. It felt deliberate, almost suspicious. Jason's stomach tightened. He tried to shake off the feeling, reassuring Reuben with a smile. But the growing tension was hard to ignore. As they walked on, the officers didn't turn away, their eyes following them, and Jason couldn't help but wonder why they were staring at them, 2 innocent kids on their way to Grandma's house. As Jason and Reuben continued down the sidewalk, the 2 officers suddenly moved toward them, blocking their path. Officer Jared stepped forward, towering over the young boys with an authoritative presence. His eyes were sharp, scanning them from head to toe. "Where do you 2 think you're going?" he asked, his tone more accusatory than curious. Jason, trying to stay calm, glanced at his younger brother, who was looking up at the officers with wide, uncertain eyes. He stood tall in front of Reuben, offering a reassuring smile. "We're just walking to Grandma's," Jason replied firmly, though inside, his heart was racing. But the officers didn't seem convinced. Officer Robert, standing behind Jared, folded his arms across his chest and narrowed his eyes. "We don't see many kids like you walking around here," he sneered. Jason's unease deepened. Why were they being treated like this? They weren't doing anything wrong, just taking a walk to see their grandmother. Reuben tugged at Jason's sleeve, his small voice trembling. "Jason, why are they staring at us like that?" The fear in his brother's voice only made the situation more unbearable. Jason squeezed his hand, trying to calm him, but the officers weren't done. Without warning, Jared's eyes turned hard. "Empty your pockets," he ordered, his voice demanding. Jason felt his stomach drop. They hadn't done anything wrong, but he knew if he resisted, things could get worse. He reluctantly reached into his pocket and pulled out the small toy car he always carried. Reuben, looking confused and scared, pulled out his stuffed rabbit. The officers glanced at their belongings, clearly unimpressed. But still, they didn't back off. They searched their bags, shaking them upside down as if expecting to find something hidden inside. Jason's heart pounded in his chest as Reuben's stuffed rabbit tumbled onto the sidewalk, and the younger boy's lip quivered with fear. It was a moment Jason couldn't forget. His brother, in tears, watching his beloved toy hit the ground, and the officers continuing their aggressive search despite finding nothing. Every minute felt like an eternity, and Jason was desperate for this to end, for someone, anyone, to help them. Jason could feel the situation spiraling, the tension thickening in the air as the officers grew more aggressive. His instincts screamed to protect Reuben, to shield him from the fear and confusion he could see on his younger brother's face. Reuben's hands trembled, still clutching his stuffed rabbit, and Jason felt a surge of protectiveness unlike anything he'd ever felt before. He knew he had to do something before this went any further, before things got out of control. Without thinking twice, Jason pulled out his phone, his hands shaking as he dialed the number he knew would bring help. He quickly hit call and waited, heart pounding as he heard the ringing on the other end. "Dad," he said, his voice barely above a whisper but full of desperation. "We need you. 2 cops are stopping us. They're searching our bags. They're being mean." He didn't need to say more. The urgency in his voice told his father everything. On the other end of the line, Marcus Carter, sitting in his office surrounded by paperwork, immediately recognized the tone in Jason's voice. The familiar sound of his son's distress hit him like a gut punch. Without a second thought, he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and rushed out the door. "I'm on my way, Jason. Stay calm. I'll be there in a minute," Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. The senator's calmness only reassured Jason for a moment. He knew his dad would fix this. But as the minutes passed, all Jason could do was hold on, praying his father would arrive in time. The sound of screeching tires broke the tense silence as Marcus's car came to a sudden stop. Jason looked up, relief flooding through him when he saw his father step out of the car. Marcus, dressed in his usual suit and tie, exuded a commanding presence. He moved with purpose, his broad shoulders and tall frame cutting through the air like a force of nature. His eyes, full of determination, locked onto the officers as he made his way toward the scene. As soon as Marcus reached the group, the atmosphere shifted. The officers, who had been so confident moments before, seemed to falter under his gaze. "What's going on here?" Marcus asked, his voice firm, carrying the weight of someone who wasn't afraid to challenge authority. He stood tall, positioning himself between the officers and his children, making it clear that he wouldn't allow them to continue intimidating his sons. Officer Jared, caught off guard, quickly attempted to defend his actions. "We were just doing our job, sir," he said, his tone defensive. But Marcus wasn't having it. "Your job? There's nothing just about this," he shot back, his voice rising in authority. "You had no right to stop my children, no right to search them without cause." The officers exchanged a quick, nervous glance. They hadn't expected someone like Marcus to show up so quickly, especially not with such unwavering confidence. The shift in power was immediate, and they realized they were no longer in control of the situation. Within moments of Marcus's arrival, the sound of sirens pierced the air as 2 additional police cars pulled up. The backup officers stepped out, and Marcus quickly explained the situation: how his children had been stopped and searched without reason, how they had been treated with hostility and suspicion. The new officers listened attentively, quickly realizing the gravity of the situation. As Marcus continued to assert his children's rights, it became clear that the actions of Officer Jared and Officer Robert were far beyond acceptable. Jared and Robert, who had been so certain of their authority moments before, now found themselves in handcuffs. They were arrested for harassment and unlawful search, their faces a mixture of shock and confusion. The change in their fortunes was swift and undeniable. Jason watched, his heart pounding as the officers were led away, feeling an overwhelming sense of relief. His father had come through, just like he always promised he would. Reuben, still clutching his stuffed rabbit, was shaken but comforted by the strong presence of Marcus beside them. Jason, holding his brother close, couldn't help but feel a deep gratitude. His father had not only protected them, but he had also made sure justice was served. The fear that had gripped Jason moments before began to fade, replaced by a quiet sense of peace, knowing that, no matter what, with his dad around, everything would be okay. As Marcus stood tall, holding his children close, he looked down at Jason with a proud smile. "You did the right thing by calling me, son," he said, his voice calm yet filled with reassurance. Jason felt a wave of warmth wash over him, the weight of the moment settling into something powerful and meaningful. His father's words reminded him that standing up for what's right, even in the face of adversity, was always the right choice. The scene served as a reminder to all of us, the importance of standing up for justice and doing the right thing, no matter the situation. No matter how small or big, our actions can make a difference. Justice came fast today, Marcus continued, but we all have the power to make sure it's served in our own way. If you enjoyed this story and believe in the power of justice, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, justice always wins.